Hey, welcome family. I know that this is a unique time, but I realized that my scheduling wouldn't have allowed me to come on live like I would usually come on. So I wanted to drop this in, let you know I was thinking about you, and also to really share some helpful tips with you about upcoming holidays. And I know that y'all are probably getting your minds set on Christmas dinners, different Christmas parties if you have with coworkers. But I do have some tips for you, especially if you have some health goals. But before I jump into that, if this is your first time, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button because I really do appreciate your feedback. Even add a comment or drop a comment on some of the things that you like about this video, or even if you can definitely relate to some of the tips that I share. And if you're returning, please, again, make sure you share some love, comment, add some love to the page, and I really appreciate that. So let's jump right into it. So around this time of the year, December, there's usually a lot that people start to spend their money on, or sometimes even before that. You have Christmas gifts, decorations for your house, a lot of gift wrappings and stuff, and then you have parties that and dinners that a lot of people may attend. And when you think about a lot of these parties, most people don't really go in with a plan, but a few people do. And those people who actually go in with a plan, they are aware that there are some limitations that they would have had they not gone in with a plan. But again, I want to just preface this because I'm sure that there are different people who have goals. And as we go into the new year, I know that people have New Year's resolution, or some that I've seen said, hey, let's just take it slowly. But again, you also have to be aware of the reality. So again, when you go to a lot of Christmas parties or dinners, you have a lot of foods, and these are typically rich foods. And doing research, I realized that how Christmas originally originated, the individuals they pretty much celebrated by eating a lot of rich foods, having large feasts. So it's pretty much the fattest meats that you can think of, cheeses, heavy carbs, something that's gonna make you feel heavy. Okay. So when we think about this, there's nothing wrong with eating, some rich foods here and there. But I think it also comes down to, is this a part of your lifestyle? Because you will find that whatever you struggle with, then that may indicate that you may include that within your typical nutrition plan, however you look at it. So I want to give you some tips. So if you say, hey, I know this party is going to have a lot of meats, some small appetizers, and that's where a lot of people can get tripped up. Whether it's small sausages or small, um, was it buffalo wraps, artichoke dips with the chips, different things that people may eat as like finger foods, but you have to realize that these are calorie dense. Okay, so I want to give you some tips, and hopefully you can use these as you see fit. And if you don't, then at least you can remember something. So when you do go to a feast, you can say, "Hey, Jerry told me about this, and I can actually use this." Okay, so tip number one, make sure that you go in with a plan. Okay, that is going to be first and foremost. Do not walk into or it's recommended that you do not walk into a Christmas party or dinner without a plan, because what happens is, let's say you have a buffet and the buffet looks very, very appetizing and delicious. And you start to see so much food in your mind because you don't have a prepared plan. You say, well, I think I'm going to try to get a little bit of everything. But we all know how that goes. You start with one item and you're like, ooh, I like this one. And you're like, I'm going to have to come back for seconds. You know what? I'm working on seconds. Let me come back for thirds. I'm pretty much done. So you have to realize, if I go in with a plan, and if I do want to go through a buffet line, then let me really see what this buffet line has. Ideally, you want to aim for the veggies. because again, person may say, why do I need veggies? Because veggies are one, nutritious, full of fiber, and then there's also additional nutrients that you don't realize and you won't see on the label that the vegetables actually give you. In another video that I cover, eating vegetables actually can help with your gut microbiota. Okay, so this helps with your overall health. So when you have vegetables full of fiber and nutrients, they also help to break down harmful cells that are in your body or even substances. So toxic substances are in all of our bodies, in case you didn't know that. You got toxic substances in you. So when you eat certain foods, these also help to drive out those substances, whether it's through your bladder, whether it's through a negative way, but it can also come through your vomit. But through an ideal means, this will either come through your bladder, whether it's feces or your urine, or through sweat. Okay, so these are ways you can get rid of toxic substances. But thinking about vegetables, don't overlook those because again, they are nutritious. And I know a lot of people may think you have to eat vegetables bland. No, you don't. You can add seasoning. Now, salt is I know people like to use that as well. If you add some salt, then that's all you need. Actually, everything pretty much that you eat, even vegetables, have a small amount of sodium in it. So the notion that you have to add salt to everything is pretty much just based on preference. Because again, when you do the research, salt is pretty much in everything. Okay, so when I talk about flavors, I'm talking about spices, herbs. So think about rosemary, thyme, cinnamon, garlic, crushed red pepper, um, chili pepper, without the salt. But again, these are just some of the herbs and spices that can actually add flavor to your foods. Okay. Again, another thing is when you go through the buffet line is not going in with the mindset of let me try everything, but really go in saying, okay, these are my health goals. So what are the foods that are going to support my health goals? And also what are the foods that I like? So it's almost like you are filtering. So let's say the foods that you like are vegetables. But then let's say you may not want to eat every vegetable because sometimes people just can't tolerate it. But you know that through filtering based on the criteria that you made, there is something there, or there are at least two or at least four things that you can eat. Go for those and be like, okay, this wasn't so bad. I don't need that brownie. I don't need it. I don't need that buffalo wrap. I don't need that. Okay. So again, that's just one example. Another example is for me, sometimes I actually eat before I go to an event, or I may eat enough. So if I do have to get something, it's usually something very, very small because again, when you're on a certain diet or you have a certain nutrition regimen that you're trying to maintain, it's going to be important that you really keep some of these things in mind. So again, like I said, I do prepare some of my meals or I eat in advance. So if I do go out to an event, then I may grab something small, maybe a salad, or it could be something that's, low cal, okay? But it also helps me to stay on track without getting too far off track, okay? So third thing is you want to drink plenty of water, okay? Again, I know a lot of people don't like to drink water. You may prefer to drink some sodas or some juices or even alcohol. But I remind you that those typically have calories, and even if they are low cal, you also have to realize would you drink it every day, 64 ounces of it, is really healthy for all your organs? These are questions that you can even ask yourself, and you will start to think, okay, maybe I need to scale back on some of these juices, some of these sodas, some of this alcohol, and let me really add some more water into my diet. Because again, when you think about water, you need water, okay? You use water every day for your eyes, for your saliva, for your body processes. The more water that you have, it helps with a lot of your digestion, okay? So when we really understand some of these concepts and how they can really play a role with our decisions, you don't knock this idea off of saying, I don't really need water, I don't want water, but you really start to think, okay, I really need to get some water into my body because I haven't really had any at all today. Okay. So another tip, and these are just bonus, is you want to go for a smaller plate. So kind of like I was saying earlier, you either eat earlier or you can go through the buffet line, or if you happen to be out at a restaurant and you're ordering, you could order something that is either low calorie or you can have it customized. Some restaurants, the food is already prepared, so it can be pretty challenging to get it the way you actually want it to. But I would say is that you could order or get a smaller plate, and this will also help with portion sizes, so that you don't have the idea of my eyes are bigger than what I can actually eat. Okay, so these are just some tips again that I want to share with you for the holidays, because again I know that when people get around food, especially the Hershey's Kisses, the different cookies, snacks. Everybody want to share some cookies with you. We got this from another country for this country. I be like, I don't really care what country it's from. If it's going to add calories to my body, I don't want it. Okay. So, and I know for a lot of people, it's like, well, you just knocking off the gesture. You mean well, but if I wouldn't go to this country to get the food and I know that it's going to add calories to my body, especially if I'm trying to work for a certain goal and I know that it's going to do the contrary of what I'm working towards, then there's certain decisions that you have to make, okay? So I want you to keep these in mind, that go in with a plan and don't feel like, hey, I have to do this after the holidays or I'm gonna eat better after, because that mindset can really deceive you, because you say, hey, I'm gonna do this, but then once that time comes, it's hard for you to get out of that state because your mind is just not ready for it. And so what you need to do is you have to really start to plan. And once you plan, you're pretty much telling yourself, hey, self, you're not gonna be gratified. You're not gonna have your way. There's gonna be some structure here. We're gonna eat this. We're gonna eat that. I don't really care how you feel. You're gonna feel however we're gonna feel afterwards. We're gonna feel good about this. Sometimes you have to really speak life of yourself, because sometimes your flesh will tell you, hey, I want this, and you have to say no. Okay. So again, these are things again that I do myself, because anything that I share with you, I actually do it for myself first and foremost. And so what I share with you are things that I continue to do. If you want to really know the truth, last night my wife, we went out to celebrate her birthday, and at a restaurant, it wasn't a lot of things I wanted. Honestly, I didn't really want to eat anything. And I'll be honest with you, there have been times that I've gone out, even with a large group, and I just didn't order anything. So I decided to order something, and it was just a chicken and vegetable dinner. It was nothing but a grilled chicken breast with with vegetables and the salad. Honestly, that was all I ate. Okay, aside from a little bit of first steak and potatoes. But other than that, I pretty much stuck to that. I tried to get it as light as I could, because I had already eaten my normal uh, diet, or I had already eaten my normal meals for the day. And so when it came to dinner, I know I like to eat light. So I went in with the plan. I looked at the menu online even before we got there. And so again, these are just some tips for you to keep in mind. You can look at the menu before you actually go to the restaurant, and you can really start to think about, okay, do they have any healthier options? If they do, what are those options, and how can I really customize it so that it fits within my nutrition regimen? Okay, so again, these are just some tips that again I've used myself, and they have actually worked. I have stayed on track, and it's been very refreshing to implement a lot of these techniques and to really change it up. And so I want you to really explore that concept if you have never done it before, but you have wondered about, could this work? It can work. And it also just takes consistency and intentionality. Okay. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure that you like it, show us some love, drop a comment. I would appreciate it. Okay. And so if I do not talk with you, hopefully I will be able to talk to you next time. But if I don't, then I hope you have a a blessed Christmas celebrating Jesus Christ. And I hope that you're able to just really learn a lot during this holiday season about loving. And just if you haven't given your life to the Lord, make sure you really just explore it. Really know that Jesus died for all of our sins and he wants us to be in a relationship with him, okay? So that is something that I want you to really answer is have you given your life to Jesus Christ today? And if you want more information, send me a comment, send me a direct message or DM, and I'll be happy to share more with you, okay? So that's all I have, family. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day and be safe. All right, that's all I got.